I'm Sam Otten, and with me is Jason Book, and in this video we're going to be continuing our coverage of the Superman ongoing series. This is Superman number 42, written by Gene Yang, with art by John Romita Jr., and this is part 2 in the Before Truth story arc. So if you're following the Superman titles, they have a sort of non-crossover crossover going on. You can follow any of the 4 Superman books independently, but they are all dealing with this truth idea of his identity being exposed and him being kind of in a depowered state. And it's not as confusing as people seem to think it is. The Superman book that we're going to talk about now is the first of the 4. These events happen first, it leads to him being exposed, and then the other 3 books are taking place after Superman. So right now we're Superman 42, we're in the thick of it. This is Before Truth. So Jason, what'd you make of this issue now where we learn about this villain and this organization called Hoarder?
Well, I like the originality of it, and I think that Gene Yang's got kind of an interesting voice for Superman, but the execution just wasn't great to me. We always talk about that John Romita Jr. artwork, and honestly, before this series, he would have the odd issue that would look kind of spotty, but it seems to be more and more with this title. There were some cool moments. I liked the part where he finally is revealed to Lois, and it seemed like kind of a riff on the original Superman, meeting Lois Lane panel, kind of flipping that. And there's moments that are cool, but overall, the storytelling is good, but it does look really choppy. And I don't know. I'm sticking with it, but I wasn't super impressed with this issue.
Yeah, overall, with all the truth stuff, I've been very happy. It's been exceeding my expectations for sure. But this issue, I'm kind of with you where I was not in love with this issue, but it's the part 2, which sometimes are the weakest, and I think it could still pick up for part 3 and part 4. To me, it's kind of some of the things you said about I still am not in a fan of the John Romita Jr. art. But I think it's also like a pacing issue. Like we were having kind of a downtime moment at the beginning of the issue where Superman's trying to talk to Lois and Jimmy and stuff. And then all of a sudden there's a quick action scene. Then all of a sudden they're off to the Hoarderplex. And then all of a sudden the Hoarderplex is going to be destroyed. Like, to me, I wasn't sure what this pacing was. I feel like I was getting tossed around a little bit.
Yeah.
And the Hoarderplex I thought was a pretty cool idea. And I do like this villain. So I think it could still go somewhere pretty good for part 3 and part 4.
Yeah.
But we find out that the Hoarderplex exists. And then we arrive on it. And then within the same issue, it's being destroyed basically by a super flare. So, to me, that pacing was kind of unexpected for me.
Yeah, totally. And like I said before, like the Hoarderplex and the idea of that organization and the villain, these are cool moments. And even something silly like Superman fighting ninjas is pretty cool. But yeah, just overall, it just could have been a little bit stronger. I'm definitely going to stick with it, though, but I'd really like to see it tighten up a little bit.
Yeah, I hope so, too. Yeah, the action sequences that you mentioned, I feel like the art, this was one where John Romita Jr., I usually have a problem just with his faces and stuff that just seems awkward or seems rushed or kind of amateurish. But sometimes he'll capture the action pretty well.
Yeah.
And this one, I don't think he even captured the action very well. Like, there was the fight on the hillside with the shadow monsters at first, and then there were the fight with kind of the security robots.
Right.
And neither one of those did I feel like I had a good sense of the action that was happening, and it seemed like just kind of a bunch of mess of stuff on the pages.
Yeah, it was a little sloppier than he's done before, eh?
Yeah. I've been trying to wrap my head around John Romita Jr., so recently I've gone back and looked at some of his previous art because I hadn't read a lot of his stuff before.
Yeah.
And it seems like, to me, it's really more of it's not that his art is bad, it's just to me that it has to be a good match. Because when he did stuff like Kick-Ass or he's done some past stuff with Spider-Man, I open those up and I'm looking at him, I'm like, it looks like John Romita Jr., but it seems to work for that book.
Yes, yeah.
To me, it's not really working for Superman. To me, Superman is not really supposed to look like the way that he draws it.
Yeah, it's kind of too bad because he's such an icon of storytelling, and so is his dad as well in Marvel. It could be that he really just has that Marvel style in a way, but he also has something which he calls deadline style, which he admits that he doesn't rush things to make it rushed, but he does have a quick style. And I think that got him a lot more books, but it's definitely gotten worse over the last couple of years and definitely on this title. So in a way it's too bad because when I first saw that first cover he did for Superman and there were some nice moments, I'm like, this has a lot of potential. And I would just like to see him do something really strong that he's capable of doing.
Yeah. And I think where I'm kind of landed now, that after I've read quite a few issues here on Superman for him, I think where I've landed is to say, I'm not going to say that I hate his art. I'm just going to kind of say that I don't think he's a good match for Superman. I think that's where I am.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I mean, like, maybe we'll get some more strong points because it looks like he's there for a while, but yeah, I'd like to see something stronger for sure.
Yeah. And now Gene Yang is new on the scene for the Superman title. And like you said, I think he's pretty strong. He wasn't solid all the way through, though. There were a couple moments where I thought he could have handled it better. Some of it was pacing, so like towards the end, he's kind of ramping up the pace, and it's getting pretty exciting, and they have to get off the Hoarderplex, and you know they have kind of a countdown going before Superman's super flares.
Yeah.
And then Gene Yang threw in this panel of Jimmy Olsen having a little quip with Condessa and calling her Blue, and like, oh, Blue because of your hair.
Yeah,
It's like that panel totally interrupted the flow of the excitement to me. I think it would have been okay to have Jimmy call her Blue, but don't spend a whole panel to explain the little quip.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, yeah.
Yeah, and there were a couple spots like that where I'm like, okay, this panel could have been tightened up or could have been punched up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I like how he's introducing Hoarder Root, where we've now been introduced, but not fully. There's still some mystery there. I like the mystery of whatever this figure, the shaped man that comes into Superman during the super flare. So I think he's still putting in these mysteries to pull us forward in the story. And I like how he gave kind of a nuance voice to Hoarder Root. He gave him this kind of like sort of almost a catchphrase or something.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's kind of a unique take on it. But so Gene Yang is he's still winning me over. He's not perfect, but I think he's off to a good start. And I like his idea of having information and secrets and the kind of computer programming angle.
Yeah,
I think that is a 21st century modern take on it.
Yeah,
and
that way of Superman kind of being outed was an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it all kind of thematically fits together. And he even put in a reference to LexCorp being 20th century, and I thought like that makes sense in the story, and it also makes sense in reality that LexCorp is kind of an older villain, an older way of thinking about the Superman universe, and Gene Yang I think is trying to bring in a pretty modern approach.
Yeah, just a quick aside, do you think that guy that kind of drained Superman of his powers could have been Parasite? He's already been introduced in the New 52, right?
Yeah, he's been around. He's also a player in the current Justice League of America, even though that one's kind of not in main continuity.
Right.
It did have a Parasite feel, the way he came up during a very powerful moment.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how he would fit into it.
Yeah, because he kind of looked quite different. I mean, it was just a silhouette, but it had a weird kind of things poking out of the top of his head and stuff like that.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Yeah, and I'd be curious to see how they tie him into it.
It would just make sense for the depowered thing with Superman. That would be really cool.
That's true.
Yeah.
So the last thing I wanted to ask you about is the scene with Lois. So when I was opening up issue 42, I thought maybe this was going to be where Superman revealed Lois, where Lois Lane revealed Superman to the world. But instead what we have in issue 42 is that Lois Lane finds out for sure that Clark Kent is Superman. And I think maybe in issue 43 she'll out him to the rest of the world. But what do you think of that scene where she kind of finds out for sure that Clark is Superman?
I kind of thought it was decent. Like, it reminded me of the way she figured out he was Superman in Man of Steel. It seems like more of this time that we're in. I mean, maybe it could have been handled a little better. It was just right after Superman was fighting ninjas, and all she had to do was kind of rip off his already torn up shirt. And it was kind of funny in the storytelling, too, because it already looked like he was really showing himself not to be Clark Kent, fighting ninjas and basically like looking like Superman with a pair of glasses and jeans on. Like, you know, it wasn't much of a step for her to figure that out, but I thought it was an interesting way to do it anyways.
Yeah, I think she basically knew, but she was kind of like, now here's this dramatic reveal of now I know 100% for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought it was pretty good because to me, in all the Superman lore, like even back to the old TV show and the old movies and really everything with Superman, I've always kind of wondered that it's risky for Superman to go and change, because even if it takes him 1 second or 2 seconds to go change or hide himself from Lois and Jimmy and Lois, somebody could die in that 1 or 2 seconds, or it might slow him down just enough that he misses a step. So to me this made sense, where it's like, okay, they're being attacked right now, he's not going to go run behind a bush and then come out as Superman. He's just going to go ahead and save the day because he doesn't have any time to change.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, okay, I'm glad to see him where it's like, okay, he just goes and does what he have to do. It saves Jimmy and Lois and Condessa, and the fact that they find out is, it's okay at this point. And
Yeah.
he already knew that his secret was found out by the Hoarder people anyway.
That's
So
true.
I think
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the next issue, where Hoarder has his secret, so maybe Lois shares the secret so that Hoarder doesn't have any leverage over him anymore.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it all plays out. Overall, it was an okay issue. It kind of reminded me of one of those issues in the middle of the last run where we thought things were kind of okay in the middle, and hopefully things will get better.
Yep, I'm right with there. Yeah, so we'll look forward to 43. I'm thinking Lois might out him publicly in 43, but I agree with you. This one was okay. It could still, have a nice strong finish. Some things are in place, I think, that could pay off.
Yeah, totally agree.